it's the anger that I have to get people ready for, because when I start building temples and mosques instead of United and Baptist churches, there's going to be a lot of problems.
All right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Just a small background. Who are you?
I'm David Bailey, and I'm the mayor of the county of Brant.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and today's the first day of my second term.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
So how did you find yourself as the mayor? How did it happen?
Well, you know what? I didn't like what was happening in the county, and I thought, if you're going to complain, you might as well do something about it. And I've been in business and for 30 years in Brantford and Brant County, and I've lived in most parts of the county. I've lived in Paris 3 times when flipping houses made money, and I've lived in Mount Pleasant, and I was raised in Glen Morris and St. George, so I knew I had pockets of people that knew my name, and maybe they didn't remember where they knew it from, but they knew it, and it was always associated with something like the Boys and Girls Club or Rotary or Brantwood or Participation House or something. I've always been very active in the community, and I knew that people would recognize my name and that I would get enough votes, I thought, to win, although I took on a challenger who had never been defeated. So I went into it a little, not nervous, but wondering whether my name was big enough to win, and it was.
You didn't have such a challenge the second time.
No, the second, I did very well this time.
Let's call it a landslide.
Well, it was kind of a landslide. I was hoping for 75% of the vote, but I got a little over 72% of the vote.
Still okay.
Yeah.
Still okay. Why do you think you are so popular after your term?
I think because I can't not say what I'm thinking. And sometimes it takes people by surprise. I don't like bullies. I don't like nonsense. I don't like. I just don't like mean stuff. And I have a way of letting people know that they were mean and they were not appropriate. And it seems to be working. And the county of Brant has a whole different feel to it. It's a very great place to do business now. It's a friendly place. It's a cooperative place. It's very diversified. It's very forward thinking. It's very accepting of everybody. So it's working. I just didn't like the fact that I was supporting a community before with a group of people running it that I didn't like what they were doing.
You were talking about your job prior.
Right. So I've had 2 careers before I became the mayor. I ran a design business for over 30 years, but before that, and still I hold an Ontario funeral director's license.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I am an embalmer by trade.
Okay.
And still hold my license. And what I did is I ended up working for some people, 2 men, one from Hamilton and one from Cayuga, and they were very wealthy men, and they were buying up funeral homes as they became financially in trouble. So I was buying up funeral homes for them. So because I always had the design background, when I left the funeral business, we owned 17 out of the 21 funeral homes in Hamilton.
Really?
In Ancaster. I was the managing director of the Ancaster Funeral Home. And then after you get so big in the funeral business, and the funeral business was changing, it wasn't for me anymore. There was no more room for compassionate discounts or helping families get through 3 bad days. It was all about input sheets and profit margins and upgrades and all that kind of stuff. So the funeral business had changed, and the reasons that I wanted to become a funeral director weren't there anymore for me. So that's when I decided to do the design thing full time, and I did it for 31 years. And I was very successful again because I shoot from the hip, and I worked for myself so I could make things right when they were wrong, and I could be true to my word, and I didn't have to ask anyone whether we could do something different or do something. I was just able to put my money where my mouth was, and it worked. And when I left, I think I had 5,200 clients.
5,200?
Yes.
That is amazing.
I know.
I've been a flipper for quite some time, so I admire that. That is a skill which I don't have. My stuff normally turns out gray and plain floors, but I admire that skill.
Gray is the new beige.
Exactly.
So you're right in line there.
Everything's gray now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Paris.
Yeah.
If you check the population, it says 12,000. I think that Paris is expanding wildly.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me why you think that is and where you think Paris will show up in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Well, I think it's growing because it's a wonderful place to be. It's convenient. It's beautiful. It's where do you get a town that sort of comes together where two rivers meet? Other than transportation nightmares, it's a beautiful problem to have.
I'm going to get you on that later.
It's a really beautiful place, and I can't take credit for any of the growth. That was all done by previous councils, and I don't blame them for it. But I do have to manage it now. They've put me in a position where it looks like I'm doing all of this, and it looks like I've done all of the sort of nastiness that comes with not having the infrastructure in place. But it wasn't me. Again, not to blame anyone. It wasn't my job to do any of that then, but it is my job now to sort of make it the best it can be. I understand why people in Paris wake up angry every day, especially in the summertime when there's dust and there's noise and there's all this. Nothing's ever finished. But I do assure them that someday when it is all finished, it's going to be great and worth waiting for. I think we had 2,800 houses in the last 4 years that have gone up somewhere. It's going to get bigger, and last night when I was sworn in for my second term, I publicly said out loud that I'm not going to apologize anymore for the growth.
I love that, by the way.
There are reasons why people are moving here, and it's because it's a wonderful place to live. And I'm also not going to apologize for not sort of being ready for it, because you never know what that means, really. You don't know where highways need to get wider or where roundabouts need to be, because that's not what all of us do. Like, we're not all experts at everything. So, and obviously building roads is not what I know a lot of. So I have to always depend on my staff. And so they didn't see all this coming quite as quickly as it has come. And it's because of the government. The government now is different than the government that was in place when those other councillors committed to whatever they committed to. So we have a Ford government now that's very big into development and quickly developing, and they really have no regards for permits or timelines or anything like that. They just think that if you want a house and there's a place to build it, you should just start to slap it up. So we just have to tap the brakes.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
Well, you know what? It's not a good way to do anything. You shouldn't do anything too quickly. I feel badly that our staff is so mistreated by people that that are supported by the government. When you have a government thinking something's a good idea, but our staff can only work so fast, we have very tired staff, and I don't like sometimes the way the contractors and the builders come in and speak to our staff, because you can only work so fast, and as a county we can only have so many employees. So there's a lot of very overworked county planners right now, and inspectors and all of that. So I'm not sure that you always feel better when the government supports what you believe, and right now the government doesn't support what I believe, which is too bad.
It is. Let's talk about transportation for just a bit. I live straight to downtown, and I work here in the north, and I have heard from people, and I see that it's challenging to get through a downtown.
It's challenging to get downtown compared to what it was like 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
But it's easy to get downtown if you're comparing it to something that has as much to offer as the County of Brant. So if you want to find something at the same quality of the County of Brant or the town of Paris, then you've got to go somewhere like Niagara-on-the-Lake, or you've got to go to somewhere like St. Jacobs, and the lineups are longer.
That's an amazing answer. And okay, our downtown is very old. Do you see it staying as it is, or do you see more change down there? There has been some building, the Royal and the Mill. How do you see it playing out in the future?
I think it's going to change a little bit. I don't think the flavor of it will ever change. I think that I would love to see a grocery store downtown, some sort of a Farm Boy or a Goodness Me or some sort of a place that you could stop on the way home and pick up a couple of steaks.
I would as well.
And have a salad and go home, pick up a bottle of wine. But I think whatever we do needs to look like Paris, needs to be stone. It needs to be heavily grouted. It needs to have that feel. But I also think that the tops of the stores need to be residential. There needs to be one.
I live above a store.
There you go. So
it's amazing. I'm on the river.
You're a lucky man.
I have an amazing spot.
You do. You must have. There's not many of them either.
No.
And see, that's the problem. And even when we build them on the other side of the parking lot behind the council chambers, if that becomes the grocery store, that becomes the new sort of commercial bottom and residential top, they'll never have the river in the backyard. So you came in at a good time, because I think there's only 14 of you that are down there that have the river in the backyard and get to live above a store. So lucky you.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so Paris has had people who have lived here for quite some time, and they can be set in their ways. How would you explain to them that the growth is a positive?
Well, again, last night I said, if you don't like Paris today, you're going to hate it in 5 years, so move. And I said, you'll never get a better price for your house. So, I don't like anyone to live an unhappy life. So if you're not happy, you truly should move on. There's lots of places in the province where there's no growth at all. So if you want to, go to another nice little town, Mildmay or Clifford or one of those little towns on the way to Walkerton or Hanover, they have no growth right now, and they're beautiful, and it's all done. They even have angle parking, so you can really feel like you're home. So if you don't like what's happening here, then there are other places somewhat like this that will have no more growth. So there are places to move to make you happier than the construction or seeing the growth. It's a mindset, and also we have the diversity to think about.
Of course.
In a very short time, within the year, there's going to be lots of people in the town of Paris and the county of Brant that don't look like you and I. And that's not a good thing for a lot of people. That's not something they are embracing.
An enormous change.
It's a huge
Paris
change.
was very Caucasian.
And conservative.
And conservative.
And I think that that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a real problem. It's not a problem for me. I think it's wonderful.
Or me.
And I think
I am a conservative, but
yeah, but there's therapy for that.
No.
You could be a liberal by Christmas. I know people.
it'll be a lot of work.
Well, you know what? I'm up for a challenge.
I'm
I'm the mayor.
I'm all set.
I'm the mayor. I'm a mayor in a very conservative place, so I shouldn't be the mayor here, really. If you want to go by what people's beliefs are and what they say they believe in, they should never have voted me in for 2 terms.
So then let's talk about that. You got 72%. So the people obviously love you. They love the things that you stand for. What are you going to try and accomplish in your term?
Well, we have to.
In the next term.
We have to get the infrastructure straightened out. I mean, that's just something that we have to do. Luckily, we have the money to do it. So it's not as if we're saving for anything. We have good investments. We have very clever investments. Michael Bradley, who unfortunately is leaving us as our CEO, he was very clever in his investments. And because of that, and developmental charges and COVID funding, although, as I said, I've never voted for your Ford government, I am very appreciative of what he did for us during COVID. He didn't just sort of throw us a couple of dollars. He gave us enough money to survive and to actually prosper. So the county of Brant has lots of money, which is a good place to be because we don't have to say no to too many people for no matter what you need it for. If it's the right thing to do and we have the money, we'll support it. But it's the anger that I have to get people ready for, because when I start building temples and mosques instead of United and Baptist churches, there's going to be a lot of problems. And then when I tell people there needs to be a crematorium attached to the temple, they're going to want to know why. It's going to seem strange to them, but it's something that's not strange at all. It's just something they're not used to. So there's all kinds of things coming down the pipe, and I'm glad that I'm the mayor through these times, because I'm not sure everyone understands that some things are not your business. you know, you're here for whatever reasons you want to live here, and as long as you're enjoying it and it suits your needs and you're having a good life and you're happy, then that's all you should be worrying about. You shouldn't be worrying about how happy or why the guy on the other side of the road's happy, because you're all here for a reason.
So your next term should be exciting and challenging.
Yeah, but I'm up for the challenge, and I've always said right from the very beginning when I ran the first time that every mayor should only have 3 terms. 1, to find out what he's doing. 2nd, to get it done. And the 3rd term, to make sure that there are people in place to take over when you leave.
So you're planning another one?
I will run another term, yeah, as long as my health is good and as long as, people keep believing what I'm selling. Because I am selling a good news story. It's just kind of bumpy times right now because it's never known this before. You know, the town of Paris and the county of Brant is a very conservative place, and there's a lot of sort of money on the side roads, and they've strange people. You'd be surprised who has the money in the county, and their money has always brought them power, and their opinions have always mattered, and you can see it changing. Money's not important anymore. Now that's presence, community. So it doesn't matter how much money one person on a street has when 800 other people that don't look like you live on the same street. So it's all going to be communities forming and people that have been here for 150 years losing their status or their power in their own minds, because they're always going to be who they always were. But they're not going to see it that way. They're going to start feeling uncomfortable on their own streets, where they went to school and where they were born. A lot of people in the county of Brant were born right here at the Willett Hospital, and they might get uncomfortable even going in there because the doctors and the nurses, the technicians aren't going to look like them, and may be hard to understand, and they're not going to have the patience to see that through. They're going to criticize that instead of trying to embrace it as something new to the county. Because the people, the diversity that's coming to the county of Brant are coming with their own money. They're coming with big smiles. They want to be here. They come with restaurants and festivals and all kinds of cultural things that we should be very excited about. There are people, there's places in Ontario that has had no growth for 5 years. Like they're begging for a survey. They're begging for more than 6 houses at a time. And here we have enough in the pipe to get us to our goals to 2051 already. We wouldn't have to issue another building permit ever to get to the provincial goals that the Premier has put out for us to get us to the numbers of 2051. So that's amazing.
And 2051, we are estimating a population around
65, maybe.
That's
maybe,
exciting.
Maybe 70. Who knows? If we're at our limit now, then anything beyond that's up to us. So once you can accommodate everything that's in the pipe now, and the infrastructure's there. We've opened the roads. We've put the bigger pipes in. We can now service more people. We've found the water. We're getting the services put into St. George and Burford. We're going to start a pipeline from the city of Brantford. We could grow fast. We could grow very fast. And because we surround the city of Brantford proper, our growth is whatever we need it to be. Where Brantford obviously has limitations because we stopped them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is there a cause that you think needs assistance or to be talked about more?
Yes, affordable and attainable housing, obviously, and transportation. The county of Brant is in a very unique situation because not everybody wants to go to the same place. So if you live in Glen Morris or St. George, you do all your business in Cambridge. If you live in Burford, you do your business in Woodstock. If you live in Oakland or Scotland or even Mount Pleasant, you do your business in Brantford. So we have a transportation issue that takes people beyond the county, where Brantford is transportation can just be Brantford. People in Brantford do most things in Brantford because it's big enough to have a choice. So if you don't want to go to Zares, you can go to Sobeys, but you can do it all in Brantford. Where we're going to have to go beyond our borders. So it's a very difficult transportation situation to be in because everyone wants to go different places. It's not impossible, but it's tricky. We can certainly hook on to different people's plans. I mean, it's an easy fix to put a couple of buses a day going into Brantford, but then we should really have a bus that goes into Woodstock. And if you live in St. George or Glenmorris, you should really have a bus to go to Cambridge, because that's where your family lives, that's where your connections are, that's where your doctors are. So we go beyond our county the other way, where Brantford surrounds itself and sort of stays compact. We are sort of octopussing out.
And I know affordable housing is a huge problem.
It's a huge problem, and because it hasn't been dealt with for so many years, it seems like an awful big problem because no one's talked about it ever. It used to be if you lived on a farm and it was time for you to leave the farm, you don't want to be a farmer, you would just go and get a buddy and live above a store and stay there until you got married or decided to move to a city. There's no transitional space now for people to move out of the house, which is very complicated and very dangerous, because that means you can't afford to move out of the house. That means you're probably living in a house with your parents who you don't like anymore, and probably they don't like you anymore. And it's not a good situation. It makes for bad family relationships, and it makes for depression and all kinds of other things when you can't afford to go anywhere. And you could even have a lot of money in the bank and still not be able to go to anywhere because there's no place to go.
So, it was unbelievable. These townhouses here were selling for close to $1 million.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But it's reality.
It is.
I just don't know where you work and how you live. I just came from a meeting of a lady who is working 60 hours a week and she can't pay her hydro bill. So there's something wrong. But it's not at a municipal level.
Of course.
My level is to get you a stop sign and make sure your bylaws are right and make sure that your fires aren't too big when closer to your neighbor's window and stuff like that. But our problem provincially and Canada-wide really is out of control. Like, you can't afford. You shouldn't have to choose between groceries and paying your bills.
Agreed 100%.
It's crazy, but I don't see the way.
And I know that isn't up to us.
No, it's not up to us, but it does keep us awake at night. Yep. Because it does matter to me. It does matter to me. I don't care what you do for 40 hours a week, whether you're general manager of a big company or whether you work at a grocery store. If you work hard for 8 hours, you should be able to survive. If you work hard, you should be able to pay your bills.
Of course.
And go to the grocery store and not have to buy things that are going to expire in 20 minutes. You should be able to live a good life if you're going to put in 40 hours of your own time every day for 20 years. And when that doesn't work out anymore, there's a problem.
So then let me ask you something. You're doing a third term. Have you got any aspirations above this?
No. I was asked this term to run both provincially and federally, one for the NDP and one for the Liberals.
Oh, okay.
Ford didn't call me back. Not sure why.
I'll give him a call.
Okay. Actually, I have them on readout.
Okay, good.
But I was asked to run federally and provincially, and I have no desire. I love what I do here. I make a difference here. I can see the difference here. I can feel it. I see people at work being happy. My staff is very happy. My council is very happy. I saw 3 new people last night couldn't wait to get to the council table with their own ideas. I have 2 more farmers coming on board, and it makes me happy that I can see the differences that I make.
So then tell me your dream for yourself in 8 years.
I would like to stay well. My health is important to me. I want to be well at the end of my 3 terms, if I get 3 terms. And if I don't get 3 terms, I want to be just as well after 2. I don't want health to ever be my problem. I have enough. I always have had enough. I don't need any more of anything. I'm very lucky. And I like to wake up in the morning and have coffee on the steps with my partner Jim, with our dogs, and in my house coat, read the paper. I don't want to wake up in Ottawa. I don't want an apartment in Toronto. I'm very lucky that I feel fulfilled and I feel like I have enough. And now my job is to make sure everyone else has enough.
Well, I have enjoyed this, and I think that everything is in great hands. And thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Thank you.